Today we are cracking open the opening lines of the U.S. Constitution, also known as the Preamble. It's only 52 words long, but these words have carried more weight than entire volumes of political theory. It starts with three most powerful words in the American history. We the people. Not we the Congress, not we the states, not we the politicians who think they're smarter than you. Nope. It opens with we the people. Welcome to our republic.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band,
sailors and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Not
those three hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
We pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
So why did the words "we the people" matter? In 1787, those words were revolution in ink. For most of history, governments got their authority from kings, emperors, or elites. Power came from above, handed down by bloodline or conquest. The framers, they flipped the script. Authority flowed upward from ordinary citizens. And that meant the Constitution wasn't just a contract between states or politicians. It was rooted in the consent of the governed. Farmers, blacksmiths, merchants, sailors, shopkeepers. People who'd just fought a war to prove they didn't need a king telling them what to do. And it wasn't abstract theory. We the people drew the line in the sand. The new government only existed because the people said so. That was its legitimacy. But who came up with those words, right? And there's something most people that don't know. Those famous words, we the people, didn't just magically appear out of thin air. They were written by Governor Morris, a delegate from Pennsylvania. Morris was one of the most outspoken and stylish men at the Constitutional Convention. I mean, I think that'd be fun to be known as the most stylish man at the Constitutional Convention. But he spoke more than 170 times and one of the most active voices in the room. And when it came time to polish the final draft of the Constitution, the job fell to him. Earlier drafts of the Preamble had listed states one by one. We the people of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and so on. But Morris realized that wouldn't work because they didn't yet know which states would actually ratify the Constitution. So he simplified it. We the people of the United States. And it wasn't just a formatting decision. It carried a powerful message. The Constitution didn't just come from states individually, but from the people collectively. It signaled that this was one nation, not just a loose partnership of states. Morris also gave us the rest of the Preamble in its soaring, almost poetic style. The 6 purposes of government, written in a way that's clear, memorable, and impossible to mistake for anything less than a declaration. So the next time you hear "we the people," remember that behind those words was a man with a sharp pen and even sharper vision. That was Governor Morris. So let's talk about the 6 purposes of government, right? After "we the people," the Preamble lays out 6 clear goals. Think of it as a mission statement for the whole Constitution. So the next line is to form a more perfect union. The Articles of Confederation had left the country weak and divided. States bickered over trade, currency, and borders. The Shays' Rebellion, a farmers' uprising in Massachusetts, was proof that the system wasn't working. And the new Constitution aimed to pull those states together into something stronger than a loose alliance. To establish justice, the revolution had been sparked in part by unfair laws and arbitrary punishments. Establishing justice meant creating a clear legal system that applied fairly and consistently. No special treatments for elites, no trial by favor. For the first time, Americans would have a national judiciary to hold the rule of law. Ensure domestic tranquility. Tranquility, not transquility. Ensure domestic tranquility. Translation, keep the peace at home. The young nation was fragile, and unrest was a real threat. Shays' Rebellion loomed large in their minds, right? Like it was still there. Domestic tranquility didn't mean silencing dissent. It meant preventing chaos and giving citizens confidence that their government could maintain order. Provide for common defense. The revolution had shown the dangers of fighting Britain's empire with patchwork militia. Under the Articles, Congress couldn't even force states to send troops or money. The Constitution gave the new government real power to raise armies and defend the nation as one. Promote the general welfare. This phrase has sparked centuries of debate. This is how tons of laws are justified when they are written, to promote the general welfare. But in 1787, that didn't mean handing out freebies. And I think we need to try and remember that. It meant creating conditions for the nation to thrive. A stable currency, trade regulation, infrastructure. In other words, it was giving the citizens the tools to succeed, not doing the work for them. Securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This was the long game. The framers weren't just thinking about their generation. They were building a government that would protect freedom for their children, their grandchildren, and everyone after. Liberty wasn't meant to be temporary. It's meant to endure. So why the preamble still matters? The preamble doesn't grant powers or create offices. What it does is set the standard. It tells us why the Constitution exists. Every law, every amendment, every decision can be measured against those 6 goals. And those opening words, we the people, have echoed through every major American movement. Abolitionists pointed to them when fighting slavery. Civil rights leaders leaned on them to demand equality under the law. Each generation has reminded the nation that if government truly comes from the people, it must serve all the people. So don't just let the preamble roll by like a fancy wallpaper at the start of the Constitution. Those 52 words are the mission statement of the greatest political experiment in human history. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And as always, remember, history is not boring, especially when 3 simple words, we the people, flipped the world upside down and built a framework for liberty that still guides America today. See you next time.
When in the course of human events